And he's after the top answers for double money, big money, and of course the car. Family Fortunes tomorrow and all next week from 7. But now, the Krypton.
Tonight, 4 more contestants take up the great Krypton Factor challenge.
Group B, Heat 2 now have to prove that they've got what it takes to tackle television's toughest quiz. Round 1, the Krypton Factor assault course. 16 punishing obstacles over 400 yards, designed to test the contestants to the limits of their physical ability. And a reminder that they are competing to beat scientifically assessed target times. These have been based on the age and gender of each contestant. So it's who performs best against their target time who wins, not necessarily the first to cross the finishing line. And it's a fast start with Matthew Swinburne in red, a student from Oldham, and Gavin Ingram in blue setting the pace. Matthew cracked a rib during training for the assault course and he is heavily strapped, but it doesn't seem to be affecting his performance. He's looking aggressive, showing lots of determination, but he'll need to establish quite a gap between himself and the others, because as the youngest male in the race, his is the fastest target time.
But at this stage it's a very close contest and Matthew is setting a very speedy pace. Out in front, away from Gavin, and third place to Alison Riley.
In my spare time I played netball for the University of Salford and currently doing my Gold Duke of Edinburgh's Award as well.
Coming out of the flat net, Matthew's still being closely pursued by Gavin, and these two are now starting to pull away from Alison Riley and Wendy Healy in green, heading for the flat net, and that stumble will cost her vital seconds.
Still in second place across the rope swing is Gavin Ingram, who says he gave up alcohol and chocolate to train for the assault course.
From whenever I can remember watching the Krypton Factor, it's always something I'd fancied having a go at, and I can't quite believe I'm here. I think they've mixed my application up with somebody else.
At the halfway stage, there's still not a lot between all 4 contestants, but 27-year-old Wendy Healy has now overtaken Alison Riley and is looking to close the gap on the men.
One of my hobbies is travelling. I've been to Sri Lanka, Egypt, America, Jamaica, Canada, and most of Europe. I hope my best round will be the mental agility round.
Alison's now falling well behind Wendy. Matthew's bruised ribs must really be hurting now as he tumbles down that S-bend and onto the chain steps. His pace has slowed, but he's still leading and looking to beat his target time.
I decided to apply to the Krypton Factor because I always love a challenge, and I've watched it for years and I thought I could really go for that challenge now.
Wendy and Alison neck and neck on the tram wires, and Gavin's reached the chain steps. Moving on now towards the A-frame, and there's only that 30-foot A-frame between him and Matthew now. And there's also a tight contest going on between Wendy and Alison, but they've surely left it too late to catch the men. But Gavin does need to pick up time, not only to challenge Matthew, but to make sure that Wendy doesn't pip him right at the finish. Matthew Swinburne down the aerial slide to the finish, but he is 9 seconds slower than his target time. So Gavin, perhaps even Wendy, could still catch him. Wendy looking really exhausted, struggling through the water jump, and about to come down the aerial slide. Has Gavin done enough to catch Matthew? He certainly seems to have beaten off Wendy, but we'll just have to wait for the calculations in a few moments. And after that toughest of starts on the assault course, let's now welcome our contestants.
Competitive assault course, but it was won by our student from Oldham, Matthew Swinburne.
So the full points breakdown. Alison gets 2, Wendy 4, Gavin held on to take 6 points, but it's Matthew with 10 taking an early lead. For round 2, our contestants compete against each other to answer quick-fire questions on 4 separate groups of information. Numbers, playing cards, letters and shapes feature in separate groups, and questions will relate to the group that they're looking at. For example, for this sequence of shapes, circle, square, pentagon, hexagon, I might ask 2 shapes, 9 sides, and the correct answer would be square and pentagon, as their total number of sides equal 9. Our contestants answer by touching their screen, and the first to answer correctly wins the point. So if you're ready, contestants, we will start with numbers. 1 less than half of 8. Neither odd nor divisible by 4. 5 letters. 3 squared plus 1. The difference is 3. The sum is 2 more than 11. 2 numbers between. Double figures. Now playing cards. 2 cards between. Neither female nor black. Red picture. Neither a picture nor red. Neither 5 nor higher than a jack. Neither picture nor divisible by 2. 3 lower than the 3rd image. Not red. Letters of the alphabet. The 14th letter of the alphabet. 2 letters after R. Not in the word fanatic. Last but 1 letter in infinite. 5 letters between. 3 before the 4th image. 5th letter of Atlantic. Not before H or after L. Shapes. 6 sides. Even number of sides. Black, less than 5 sides. 2 shapes, 10 sides. Neither red nor round. Odd sides. 2 to the right of the first image. Neither black nor square. And that's it, the end of mental agility, and the computer now reveals that the clear winner of the round with 14 correct answers is Alison Riley. And here's how all the points worked out. Matthew 2, Wendy 4, Gavin 6 and Alison with 10. So after 2 rounds we have a 3-way tie for first place, all with Krypton Factors of 12, Matthew, Gavin and Alison.
Our response round aims to test hand-to-eye coordination, reflexes and nerve. With the help of British Aerospace's multi-million-pound simulator, our contestants have to show they can fly Red Arrow-style aerobatics.
The contestants have to follow the lead plane as it spins and loops its way over the Blackpool seafront. Points are lost for wrong turns and losing contact, and there are heavy penalties for crashing. Any score in the 90s is test pilot standard, so are there any budding Top Guns in this group?
Matthew Swinburne from Oldham goes first, one of the 3 joint leaders, and straight into the first big test, a loop. Tracking score on the right will keep you in touch with how he's coping throughout the flight, and it is excellent so far, and if he can keep it in the 90s, he'll be very hard to beat. Now full throttle, 350 feet above Blackpool Promenade. He's been wobbling a bit, but he still holds position well, and now roars up into the second loop, through 4.5 Gs, and still the tracking score is excellent, and the box above it shows the very close contact the 2 aircraft are maintaining. So it's all going very well for Matthew. Banking hard left and trying to keep the lead aircraft right in the centre of his windscreen, and succeeding very well indeed. Holding the left turn round towards Blackpool Tower, the finishing point, there it is. Matthew levels the wings and finishes on 92.5, and that's a brilliant performance. Next, Wendy Healy from Uxbridge, in last place starting this round, but only 4 points behind the other 3 who share the lead. Needs to do well here, up to the top of the loop, and she has made a very good start. Anything in the 90s is outstanding in tracking score, but can she keep it there? Over the promenade now, wobbling a bit but not in any trouble, slightly above the lead aircraft, but as long as she can see it, she's in good shape, and still the tracking score is in the 90s. She's certainly giving Matthew Swinburne a run for his money. Now a tricky moment, rolling out of the loop and banking hard left. But she does it expertly. She's still right on the tail of the leader as she heads on round to Blackpool Tower in the finish. Now remember, Matthew finished on 92.5. She's not far off that. Levelling the wings over the finishing line, and 92.2, so close but brilliant nonetheless. Now Alison Riley from Croydon, one of the joint leaders. She's a student at Salford University, which in one of these aircraft is about 5 minutes down the road. Speed dropping back to 150 knots at the top of the loop. The tracking score below Matthew's and Wendy's at this point, but still very respectable. But the box above it shows she's losing position slightly, and that proves it. The tower looks to be in some danger. Hold your breath here, and the lead aircraft passes to the left, Alison to the right. Well, I wouldn't have wanted to be at the top of the tower just then, but keep your eye on that box above the tracking score. It shows whether she's maintaining a losing contact. It's all a bit erratic, but she's still hanging on to the leader somehow. Several times she seemed to be losing control, but she keeps recovering brilliantly. It looks like she's going to make it. It's all a bit like a roller coaster down on the pleasure beach. But here we go, that's the finishing line. She makes it 79.9. Well, a fun ride. Finally, it's Edinburgh's Gavin Ingram. This round is such a good test of hand-eye coordination. Every move you see the aircraft in front make, you have to translate into actions on the control stick. And that control stick is very sensitive, just the gentlest of inputs required. Superb tracking score so far for Gavin, but just beginning to drop now as he levels out over the promenade. A high 80s, still very good, but remember both Matthew and Wendy stayed in the 90s. Difficult moment coming up, rolling out of the loop. Then it's a hard bank to the left. Gavin's not in the ideal position. The box above the tracking score will tell you if he's staying with the lead plane or losing it. The tracking score dropping, which is not a good sign. And he's definitely losing contact in the top box. He drifts right away to the outer circle. He's got just 10 seconds to find the lead aircraft. And he's completely lost, I think. The ground beginning to rush up to him. Warning lights flashing in the cockpit, and the flight is aborted. Hard luck, Gavin.
That flight means Gavin scores 2 points, Alison 4, Wendy 6 and Matthew takes the 10. And after round 3 we have a clear leader again with a Krypton Factor of 22, the student from Oldham, Matthew Swinburne.
Yes, once again, those powers of observation will be tested by a unique computer animation. Tonight's is called The Tomb. 5 questions will follow. And 5 questions on that animation starting from now. The second entry point to the tomb was through the base of a giant statue flanked by 2 dogs. What colour was the dog on the left? What weapon was the statue holding? A number of spears shot out inside the passageway. In what numerical position was the red spear? In the burial chamber, what colour were the eyes of the first skeleton? Which collection of urns appeared in the animation? Well, Matthew and Gavin both scored 5, but Matthew was quicker, and so he wins the round.
So it's 2 points for Alison, 4 for Wendy, and on that time differential, 6 for Gavin, and another 10 points for Matthew. Which means that after 4 rounds, our leader is well out in front with a Krypton Factor of 32, Oldham's Matthew Swinburne.
into General Knowledge, the last round before the Super Round. And don't forget, our contestants need to score as many points as possible in order to buy Super Round advantages. And for this round, they score 2 points for a correct answer, but 2 points deducted for a wrong answer. So if you're ready, contestants, 75 seconds of rapid-fire questions. The clock starts now. Which kind of large blowfly is also an old nickname for a policeman? Matthew.
Blue bottle.
Correct. Blue, killer and sperm are varieties of which sea mammal? Gavin?
Wheel.
Correct. Which athlete from Wales won 10 gold bars for his successes in the... Alison?
Colin Jackson.
Correct. Which 1983 album by Michael Jackson has now sold nearly 50 million... Alison?
Bad.
No. Thriller. In which thriller film does Arnold Schwarzenegger pilot a Harriet jump jet over Miami to rescue his daughter? Wendy?
True Lies.
Correct. If lying on one's back is supine, which word means lying face down? Alison?
Bovine.
Wrong. Prone. Prone, kneeling and standing are positions taken up by competitors in which Olympic sport? Matthew?
Weightlifting.
No. Shooting. Shoots of which fast-growing grass are the giant panda's principal food? Gavin?
Bamboo.
Correct. Bam Bam and Pebbles. Alison?
Flintstones.
Correct. Flint, Kalamazoo and Detroit are cities in which US state? Alison?
Michigan.
Correct. Which nation owns the... That's it, the end of the round, and the leader going into the Super Round with a Krypton Factor of 32 is Oldham student Matthew Swinburne. But now all the contestants have to think very carefully how they'll use their scores to give themselves the best possible advantages in the Super Round.
Yes, this is where it all happens. The cryptic rings, the response revolve, the laser matrix, the Krypton mountain, all coming next.
Welcome back to the Krypton Factor. Tonight's contestants have already shown their ability in our mental and physical challenges, but now they have to prove themselves in the most demanding test of all, the Super Round. The Krypton Super Round begins with the dramatic parachute jump. Next, the contestants must find their way through the cryptic rings. Out of the rings, they have to crack a series of computer codes before starting down the laser matrix, where breaking the beams incurs a disastrous time penalty. Next, 6 battens must be collected from the response revolve before the final hurdle, Krypton Mountain. Constructing the ladder comes first, followed by a race to the top.
And here they are. Please take your positions.
The last couple of minutes have been spent by the contestants deciding what advantages to buy with the points that they gained in the first 5 rounds. Now, it is vitally important that they choose well with those advantages, and I've just seen the list, and it's interesting that all 4 of them have chosen to take their advantages on the very last section, the Krypton Mountain. Now, you need 4 bits of ladder to go in there before you can get up onto the mountain. Each one of them has chosen to have 2 pieces already in place. That's how they've used their points. And a quick reminder that the leader is Matthew Swinburne with 32, Gavin Ingram is second on 24, with Wendy Healy and Alison Riley joint third on 20. And with his points, Matthew has bought those 2 ladder pieces and also 1 less word in the computer challenge. With ladder pieces costing 10 points each, Gavin has bought 2, and as I said, so too has Wendy with her 20 points, and also Alison. So it looks like the key to winning could lie with who builds the ladder quickest.
At this point, some of our contestants seem to get so hyped up they forget to take in the information on the monitors. Maybe it's the altitude or something. Now, in the monitors are the personal codes to get through the cryptic rings. Once they've got those fixed in their minds, they can jump. OK, contestants, once you've got that sorted, the Super Round starts now.
The code memorised, the first to make the parachute jump is the overall leader, Matthew Swinburne. But all 4 contestants are down and heading straight for the cryptic rings and their individual entry points.
Now, as you know, this is where they need not only a good memory, but also the ability to interpret quickly while under extreme pressure. The code represents a swift route out of the rings. If they follow it, they'll find both their exit point and the letter needed to log into the next task, the computer challenge. At this stage, it seems very close. In fact, they're all looking for the last clue, the circle in their own colour, which leads them to their correct exit. Uxbridge's Wendy Healy looking for hers. Has Matthew found his? Yes, he has. He'll be the first out. And there's Gavin following after him, with Alison not far behind either.
Next, the computer challenge, where the aim is to crack a code of 4 words. Matthew first to start, Gavin close behind in second place, but already Matthew is struggling. Now, he was always worried about the computer challenge, and if you remember, he bought a 1-word advantage, so he does only have to crack 3 words, but he seems very unhappy.
All 4 are now at the computer challenge. The code is based on alphabetical sequences. To get an L, they must type in M, for an A, a B, and so on. Matthew's beginning to panic a bit. He seems to be losing concentration. And that's Alison Riley finished. She won the mental agility round, and she's shown the same quick thinking, cracking those codes in a record time. As always, if she breaks the laser beam, the time penalty is 7 seconds. That's Gavin, he's doing well.
Alison Riley well ahead at this stage as she enters the response revolve. Remember, she has to collect 6 battens which are only released when the adjacent light flashes on. She almost seems to be forcing them out before the light comes on, and that's strictly against the rules. Yes, in her eagerness, she is trying to force them out, and if that's how the adjudicator interprets it, she faces immediate disqualification. Gavin Ingram's in second place, and it really does take great skill and balance to avoid breaking those beams, and he almost came off there. And at this stage, student Alison Riley is well ahead, but the burning question, is she trying to pull those battens out before the lights free them? It takes a lot of strength to do it, but it is clearly against the rules, and I fear it is going to mean disqualification.
At last, Matthew has finished on the computer. The word advantage he bought really didn't help a lot. And now he's broken the laser beam, so a time penalty follows for him. Gavin's joined Alison in the revolve, but she's still pulling out battens before the lights come on. That's the last one. She has collected all 6. And as she runs to the mountain, she must be thinking she's well in the lead. But during training for the Super Round, contestants are clearly shown how the revolve operates and warn that disqualification follows if the battens are removed without the adjacent light flashing. And this replay shows how she's clearly broken the rules. Only sheer brute force meant she pulled them out without that light flashing. And as a result, I'm afraid she'll take no further part in the contest.
So this is a real opportunity for the 3 other contestants. Matthew demonstrating the quick responses and physical agility needed in the revolve. And at this stage, it's very close between him and Gavin. Wendy's finally finished at the computer, but she's a long way behind now. And that's the last baton Gavin needs, and he can head for the mountain, leaving Matthew in the revolve. And is it all over for Wendy? She has broken one of those laser beams, but Edinburgh's Gavin Ingram's well on his way. Matthew's made up a lot of ground as he heads for the mountain, but he is paying dearly for his failure on the computer codes. We know he's the fitter of the 2 men, yet he still has to assemble his ladder, while Gavin has now completed his. So Gavin Ingram will be the first to set foot on the mountain. Matthew's losing more precious seconds as he struggles to slot in that ladder section. Wendy's too far behind now, so it's a battle between the 2 men, and Gavin is first to make that big push to the summit of Krypton Mountain. Matthew's now ready to start his climb, but short of a disastrous slip by Gavin, it's all over. It's been a great performance by Gavin Ingram.
Well done, Gavin. Must have been all that training, all that you gave up alcohol and chocolates, didn't you, for this?
I certainly tried, yeah.
So well done, Gavin.
Yes, excellent performance, Gavin, and of course we'll see Gavin again in the group final in a fortnight's time. Now you can hear the other contestants finishing on the mountain, but we shall be back next week with the last heat in the group and of course the spectacular all-action Super Round as well. See you then. Good night.
Bye-bye.
If you like the look of the assault course, then how about entering the arena with the gladiators? Join the mahoosive muscle men and women tomorrow at 5 on Challenge. Back to Gordon though for another round of the Krypton Factor next. Of the Crystal Maze later tonight at 9 here on Challenge, but now another 5 are tested to the max.